So yeah, uh, this is a MongoDB Atlas where I have created my database that is named as college appointments, and I have three collections in it, that is appointments collection, availability collection, and users collection. So we'll discuss about the schema, about the database structure, everything in my code base. So this is my code base, as you can see. So it is having a cmd folder, configuration folder, internal folder, and package folder. And these go.mod and go.sum are used to install my dependencies and one makefile. So the language which I am using here is Golang, and the framework I'm using here is GorillaMux, and the database is obviously MongoDB, and the authentication which I am using is JWT JSON Web Tokens. So coming to my main.go file, so this is the file where the connection starts, the code starts working. So I'll start explaining everything. So coming to line number 70, so I have created here a variable cfg. So this cfg is collecting the values from load config. Okay, so what exactly is this load config? So this load config is present in my configuration folder. So I'll just add it up and see. So this load config, what it does is it collects all the values from my all the all the values which are present in my .env file. So we have here mongo URI string. So this is the string which is used to connect my DB to my client, and also the database name and on the port on which I'm going to run this application. So these all are loaded using this load config function. So you can see here I'm returning mongo URI, database name, and the port. And I also have immediate checks, like what if the values at my .env file are empty. So if these are empty, I get the errors as shown. So after getting the values stored in my CFG, I'm going to use each and every of those values and start my server. So you can see, so I have initialized my MongoDB connection from Mongo URI, which I have got from here. So what exactly does this init Mongo do? So init Mongo, I have written it in package. So you can see it here. Yeah, so it initializes the MongoDB and connecting its instance. I have passed the URI string as shown. So it connects, and what if it's not connect, then shows failed to connect MongoDB, and checks the connection and returns the client. And using that client, we have initialized all the repositories and initialized the handlers. We'll discuss the code in the repository and handlers in further, and the routes which have been written in the internal folder. And then we start our server. So we say that server running on port which you defined here. So this is the exact flow, like overall flow, how my application starts. So coming to main logic, the main logic lies in the internal folder. So internal folder is having 5 folders, where my first folder is models. So these models models are the schemas for my database. So you can see I have like 3 files. So 3 files are for 3 collections. So coming to my first is appointment.co, and the second one is availability.co, and the third is user.co. So you can see, so first appointments.co is the database schema for appointment collection. So where I'm going to store everything related to student, like when the at which time slot is my appointment booked, through with which professor is my appointment booked, and student ID. You can see the professor ID, the student ID, and at which time it is booked. So as you can see, I'll show also it in my that one. As you can see here, so yeah, So you can see here is the professor ID, student ID, and the time slot. So this is stored in ISO format, and the output is being showing in the string format. So I chose this format, I mean time.time format, because it is used to query and perform the operation using the time. Like if I want to use the time and perform operation, so it would be easy for me instead of using the string. So if I use the string, I have to write extra functions for it also. And then my next file is availabilities.co. Similarly, it is used to store all the data related to the professor, like when he is available, at which time he is available, is the slot booked or not. If it is booked, it is true, and by default it is false. And that same, the time slot formatted, which is used to show as output, and the time slot at which he is free. As you can see here, the tags present here. So this JSON tag is used to communicate between the input API, input JSON, and output of the output response and input response. So, and the bson tag is used to for the field names to store in collections. So for example, availability ID is there, sorry, so for availability ID is there, so it is used here like this. Now coming to user.go, so this is the third collection where I'm going to store the data related to the users who are registering and logging into my application. So here I have declared username, password, and the role what they are, like the students or professor. So coming to my next folder is a repository folder. So this repository folder contains the logic for the CRUD operations. So you can see here availability.go. Yeah. So this appointment.go file is an interface thing. So what exactly is the interface is, it just decouples the connections between the database and the logic. So like if there is a chance, like if you want to change the the database from MongoDB to Postgres, so we just can change the the database instead of changing the complete logic, so it doesn't affect everything. So that's why we use this interface kind of things. So we can see I have declared the methods, its inputs and output. So these methods are next used here. The code for these methods is present in these two files, and similarly you can see here. So this is for availability, so I'm going to add availability, get availability of professor, and delete availability of professor. Similarly here I'm going to book appointment, get appointment of students, cancel appointment of the student, the appointment, and get appointment by ID. So coming to my next file is the so mongo underscore appointment. So this is where the logic for complete CRUD operations is been written. So I am declaring here a struct, so that has collection and availability record as variable, and their type is declared as a pointer. So mongo.collection is the pointer, and so this is the pointer present in the Golang itself. So I'm here creating a constructor. So what exactly this constructor does is, now the pointers which I have created here are now pointing to my appointment and availability collection. So the collection pointer is pointing to my appointments collection, the DB, in the DB whichever collection is there, like my appointment collection is there here, this one. So it is pointing over there, and my availability record is pointing to this one. So and a pointer using these two is created here. So I'm going to use this pointer and perform all my operations here. So it's like creating an instance of these two databases. Okay. Yeah. So first function is the book appointment function. So I have passed the instance here, m dot appointment pointer function, I mean instance I have passed here, and the input is appointment and model which is of type models dot appointment. So before booking an appointment, we have to obviously perform checks like whether the professor has already an appointment on the slot, and what if the professor is also available at that slot, just randomly booking. So to check that one, we have also performed some checks. So the first one, existing appointment, I'll find one where my parameters are professor ID and time slot, and if there is no error, then if the error is nil, the professor already has an appointment on this slot, so error is popped up. So and next I'm creating again availability record, so, I mean variable which is of type models availability. So what here I'm doing is so like as a user, like I'm entering, I want to book up an appointment at 3 p.m. but what if my professor is not having appointment at 3 p.m. So to also perform, I mean to check that, I have added a check here. So what it does is it takes the parameters like professor ID from the input we are passing here, appointment or professor ID, time slot is booked or not. If it is false, then it's well and good, and it is stored that everything in availability record. So the output which came from this is stored in this availability record which you have created above, and if there is no error, then nothing is there, fail to check professor availability. So after, like if everything is fine here, so if that means the slot is vacant, and we can just insert, I mean book that and insert into the database. So like I have inserted the appointment into my database, like inserted collection, like here I have inserted it, as you can see. And like what if, so these are the error checks, like if it is not booked, fail to book appointment, fail to show inserted, and okay, like after my slot is booked, now according to my schema, like if you can see here, so initially it was false, now it should change to true. So the logic has been written here regarding that, update result availability record to mark the slot is good. So the comments are well enough to understand the code what I have written, and after everything has been done, appointment ID has been returned here. And coming to my next function is get appointments of student. So in this, what I am doing is I am creating a slice which is of type models.appointment. So I'll use a filter variable, and I'll search everything related to my student ID, and I'll find everything based on the filter. I'll find everything present with my student ID, and I'll traverse, I mean now the result whichever is there is stored in my result. So I'll traverse everything, and I will traverse everything through it and store it in my created array appointments. So you can see here, yeah, so I'm appending everything here, and I'm returning the array. So this is for get appointments. And the third one is cancel appointments. So to cancel appointments, similarly I'm creating appointment of type models.appointment, a variable. So like yeah, initially like how to verify, so if the appointment is present or not, I'll check here. I'm using the instance m.collection.find1 whether the ID appointment ID is present or not. So if it is not there, appointment not found. So if there is an error, fail to fetch appointment. So if everything is fine here, then just to go forward, delete the appointment, and update the availability record. Like now initially it was true, then again make it false, and that's all. Like appointment has been deleted. So this action is performed by professor, like. And so this function is like just to support the ownership verification, whether it is performed by professor or not. So this is one thing for availability. So next function is availability, mongo dot availability. Yeah. So this function, this file is used for professor to add their availability, the time slots. So similarly, like you can see, I have created a pointer of type mongo.collection. So this is present built in Go, and the pointer name is collection. So I'm using this collection and pointing it to my availability. So like it's a constructor. The collection pointer which I have defined here is pointing to my collection name availability, which is present in my database like DB. So that I am returning here as Mongo availability. This Mongo availability pointer I am using everywhere in my code. So okay, that is happening in Golang. Okay, it is similar everywhere. So as you can see, I have created a variable m of type pointer Mongo availability, and I'm passing inputs as availability, and I'm using a filter to check the professor ID. Like okay, like if a professor is there, like he is adding an appointment. Now what if already there is an appointment at that moment? So to avoid that everything, I have already used a check filter. So if there is a professor ID, using the professor ID at the time slot, if there is anything present there, then throw an error, availability already exists for the time slot. If not, then insert one using the availability whichever we got here, and return the availability ID. So the test everything for this code will be shown in the next video. And next function is get availability of professor. So this get availability of professor does is here again the same thing. I'm creating a slice of type availability of the variable name availabilities, and of type models dot availabilities. So you can see, so this is how it looks like, the type of the array. Yeah, so I'm adding a filter here. Using this filter, I'm going to find everything related to the professor, and I'm going to traverse it here and then push it into my array which I have created here, append, and then I'm going to return the array. So again, coming to the delete availability. So this is the extra thing, like if you just wanted to delete availability you don't like, then you can delete it here. So yeah, so this is for operations between the database. So there is also one more thing. What if like a user is new, or user to login? So for this we have used auth repository. Similarly, we have created database DB and passed it here, and I'm using it here, like yeah. So we can see here this repo, the instance of the pointer. I'm checking find by username, like when a person tries to log in, so I'll check if the person username is already present or not in my users database. So if it is present, then return L and return the user. If the user is not present, so just create and insert into the database, insert one to the database. So this code is used for register and login purpose. So our repository directory is done, our models is done. So coming to middleware, yeah, so we'll use this also. So middleware exactly does is, if I open the routes, yeah, so if I open the routes, so these are the routes on which I'm going my API endpoints are present. So if you can see here, these two are public routes, like they don't require any authorization. So but the rest require authorization. So to authorize everything, so I have, in intermediate I have created a JWT middleware. So what exactly it does is, when a token, I mean when you log in as a user, when you log in, a token will be generated, and the token should be passed everywhere. So that token will come initially to JWT middleware. So here it checks like uh, the token which is there, it checks, it validates here. So before that, whichever I am writing is for like to I mean like header parts. So these are things called as header. So like like initially authorization, we have to name that header and then pass our token. So I'll just split it, and I will take whichever token I want from here, like after that, and the token whichever I got here, and I'm going to pass it into this function called as validating token. So this is another file which is present in my utils, like the package folder, the utils I have jwt.co. So what exactly this done, I mean this file does. So for now, just I'll tell you like the validating token. Also I will tell you here regarding the token, like authentication, uh, in the token we are passing some parameters, like instead of defining the professor ID or the student ID in the body of the request, so we can just pass everything through the token itself. So for that we are going to create custom claims. So these custom claims which we are created will be passed into the token. So for that, using these custom claims, like the username I'm going to pass, the user ID I'm going to pass, the role of the person I'm going to pass. Using these custom claims, I'm going to generate the tokens. Okay, so these are the tokens. Okay. Like to generate a function, the token is there. So as it is, the username, role, user ID strings are passed, and like a variable is created using this username. I mean the value has been assigned to it, and a new claim is created, that is token. So this token is given as output when a person tries to log in it. So okay, the token, this token is generated when a person tries to log in it, and after logging the token is passed everywhere, like if you want to perform the appointment, book appointment function, so the token which was created there will be passed into JWT middleware. After coming to JWT middleware, so we are passing the same token here to validate. So it comes here again. So in the function we can see the token has been validating. How? So initially it parses everything, uh, it checks like whether the custom class has been matched, and then it is going to return. If there is no error, nil it is written, and I mean if there is no error, nil is written, and the claims whichever are present in it will be returned, like the JWT secret and okay. So yeah, this one is a validating thing. You can see here, yeah, see, we got validating string. If the error is nil, then we got our claims here. The claims means the token which we got there, like the token after like for book appointment I have passed a student token in it. So after validating of the token, the details present in the token, like for example the username, the role, and the student ID whichever are present are allotted to this claims variable, and this claims is passed into context, like whichever thing you want to in the handlers. If you see, we are going to use these things called as context, so I'll explain detailedly. So as a claims is passed as a variable here. So yeah, this is the middleware thing. So now coming to handler, so this is the most important thing. So coming to handler, we have here appointment.go is our first handler. The similar, the same thing here. I have created struct repo. So it is, I'm initializing it with the appointment repository, so that is here, and I have created an instance here, and I'm using this with the pointer. Same way for book appointment, I have got this as my request, and this as my response. So see, as you can see here, user claims, uh, I got it from middleware. So okay, from this middleware I got this ETX, I mean the context. So from this, whichever the claims I got, so the claims will get just updated into my user claims. Okay, if there was no error here, the claims which I got get updated here. So this is again of the time same thing, like you can see, this is a user claims, a variable user claims of types custom claims. So custom claims is the same thing as you have seen here. So you can see username, role ID, role. So the values present here, excuse me, so the values we got from here just gets updated into this user claim. So using these user claims, we are going to perform everything now. Okay, so like you can see initially, like for booking appointment, my whoever is booking, he must be a student. So I'm going to check user claim dot role whether he is a student or not. If he is not a student, then please unauthorize him. And from same thing, I'm going to extract the user ID. As you can see, uh, as you can see here, we are passing user ID. So this is in the form of string, right? So just we are going to convert it into the hexadecimal, I mean hex format, object ID X format, which is stored in the database. As you can see, this is of type object ID in the hex format. So I'm just converting it into object ID X format. I'm going to use this thing. So now we got the student, his ID, and the professor ID also has been got. I mean this we got it from the body, like in the body of the JSON we got this one. As you can see, we have created a variable of struct professor ID and time slot, and we have passed it here. As you can see here, like the JSON, I mean as a input we are giving professor ID and time slot. Okay, so that gets decoded and stored it in this req variable. Okay, so in this struct, the values which are decoded here are stored in this req. Like in the body we gave the professor ID, time slot, right? So those all are getting updated into this req. So using this everything, we are trying to create a new variable appointment, so that consists of professor ID. So like the same thing, now this one we have to pass it into my repository. After going that into repository, it will insert it into my collection. Okay, so this is done here like that. After everything, professor ID is allotted to professor ID, student ID is assigned to student ID, time slot. So time slot formatted like through the string, everything appointment variable is created, everything related to it, and it is passed it into my DB. As you can see here, appointment ID comma error, I'm pushing it m.repo book appointment. So this one is function from my repository. So as it is, as you can see, I have passed r.context and appointment of type models.appointment. So this thing will get updated in my database. So this is like overall. I hope everything has been understood. Again, this is the output thing, like what we want to get as an output. Like output is, I want appointment ID as my output and the time slot at which it has been booked. Okay, so this is my first function, that is book appointment. And coming to my second function, that is cancel appointment. So the same thing again. So to cancel appointment, the professor should log in, and after the professor gets login, a token is being generated. Okay, the token now consists of, I'll show you. The token consists of the username, I mean the professor name, the user ID, the professor ID, and the role, that is professor. So now I'm going to use these three values extracted from token. I'm storing it into user claims. From these user claims, I'm going to check each and everything like now. So as you can see, before cancelling of an appointment, I'm going to check whether the role who is doing this thing is professor or not. If he is not, then kindly unauthorize him. Okay, then again the same thing, the ID which we got, okay, wait, yeah, the ID which we got here, I'm converting it into hex format, and checking if there is an error, then show an invalid appointment ID. So if not, then it is stored in appointment ID. And the same thing, like to check, fetch the appointment to verify the ownership, like if the appointment is present or not for the professor. So if it is not, then appointment not found. Also check if the professor is there or not. This is also some kind of check. So what if the professor is not existing, but we are trying to delete, and if everything is there, then just cancel the appointment. So this is the same thing which we have done in the upper code. Like here I have passed this to my repository, right? So the same thing I'm doing here using the m instance from the struct here, from here. Okay, this one, from here I'm passing this to my repository. Okay, this has been passed. Appointment ID, you can see here in the repository mongo dot appointment. Yeah, so yeah, as you can see here, appointment ID ctx has been passed, so which is the same thing I'm doing here. As you can see, appointment ID and context has been passed. So the data whichever we got from the body, from the tokens, we are just passing it into my repository folder, where it is getting updated into my database. So this is the total flow. If not, then just throw an error, failed to cancel an appointment. So we get appointment cancelled successfully. And this is the similar thing again, get appointments by student ID. So again the same thing, I'm going to extract everything from my token. So as it is a student token, I'm going to extract everything from student, and I'm going to verify if it is student or not, and then I'm going to convert the ID which I'm getting, that is in strings, to object ID into hex, and if it is not, then invalid student ID. Then I'm going to fetch everything. Same thing again, it goes into the mongo dot mongo underscore appointment. It comes here, I get the student ID as it is here, you can see student ID. So it goes there, and I get output as the array thing. So you can see here, I got this as an array. So as you can see, here, this is the variable of appointments of type slice, and the same thing, traversing here and converting it into a string type of times, because the ISO format cannot be understood by the student. So I'm just converting it into my desirable form, like in the string form, example 3 a.m 12 p.m like thing. So this is the handler for appointment, and coming to the next handler is availability handler. So same, this is the this works the same as it is, but I have defined functions externally instead of if you see in this previous code, I was using this function every time. Okay, I was using this function everywhere. So to avoid that thing, I have created a new function get user claims, so I'm going to use it every time now. So I'll just pass the request coming from the header, the input. I'll pass it here, then I'm going to get my user claims and I'm going to store it in my claims, and the same thing goes. I'll check everything if it is a professor or not. To add availability, he must be obviously a professor, so I'll check if the role is professor or not. I'll extract the professor ID and convert it into hex format, and then I'm going to create a variable of time slot. Time slot. So this time slot will be getting updated by the body of the user, like the professor wants to book a time, add availability at 3 p.m. for example, so he'll pass 3 p.m. as input in the JSON as body. So that input gets decoded and it is added into the variable here req. Okay, and then the time is converted it into ISO format here, as you can see. So it is converted into ISO format, and then same thing, I have created availability of type models.availability. I have the data which I have collected everything up. I have assigned everything to professor ID, time slot, everything, and I have passed it into add availability. So where does this add availability exist? So this exists in my repository folder here, mongo.availability. So this is the instance. As you can see here, I have defined it. Availability. This is the initialize of new availability handler. Okay, and the same thing goes on here every day. Very good. Yeah. So after, if there was an error, then fail to add availability. Otherwise, if everything is success, then I will get output as availability ID and the time slot at which it has been updated. Okay, then coming to next thing is get availability. So get availability again is done by the student. So here I got extract the professor ID from the URL path. So for this, like in the route, if you see, as you can see here, here, as you can see, I'm passing this here as a professor ID. So for that, okay, wait, yeah, so this is going to extract this ID. Okay, this VARs is going to extract this ID and it converts it into hex format. Initially it converts it into string and then it is going to convert it into hex format, and if there is an error, then error response is formatted and converted professor ID. And okay, as you can see, the same thing again, the data which we have collected here is being passed into the repository folder, a function get availability of professor, and the output which we got here is been formatted into the required time format. Okay, sorry, the required time format, and the output is shown here as availability. The similar thing it is shown here, delete availability. So yeah, this is the complete code base. Okay, yeah, anything left? Nothing. It's done. It's done. This is done. Yeah. So this is the complete my code base, and also the make file which I have